Welcome to Numa Tabay. Tonight we're stepping into the elegant and shadowy world of 1920s England with a brand new Hercule Poirot mystery crafted in the style of the legendary Agatha Christie. Settle in, dear listeners, for a tale of intrigue, deception, and the brilliance of Poirot's little gray cells. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop it in the comments below. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Invitation to Ashwood Manor. The autumn of 1928 draped the hills of Kent in a shroud of mist, as though nature itself conspired to cloak its secrets. In his modest yet impeccably tidy London flat, Hercule Poirot sat at his mahogany desk, his small, precise hands sorting through a pile of correspondence with the efficiency of a metronome. The Belgian detective, with his egg-shaped head, meticulously waxed mustache, and eyes that gleamed like polished jade, was a figure of fastidious elegance. His reputation as the greatest detective of his age preceded him, yet he remained ever humble, attributing his success to the diligent work of his little gray cells. On this particular morning, a letter caught his attention. The envelope of thick cream vellum bore a crest embossed in gold, a lion rampant clutching a quill. It was addressed in a bold, flowing script, and the postmark read Ashwood Manor, Kent. Poirot's curiosity stirred. He slit the envelope with a silver letter opener and unfolded the single sheet within. The letter was from Sir Reginald Ashwood, a retired diplomat whose name was whispered in the circles of high society, known for his vast collection of rare manuscripts. Mon cher Monsieur Poirot, the letter began, your reputation for unraveling the most perplexing of mysteries precedes you. I humbly request your presence at Ashwood Manor this weekend for the unveiling of my greatest treasure, the Emerald Codex, a medieval manuscript of inestimable value. I fear, however, that danger may lurk among the pages, and your discerning mind would be a comfort. I trust you will join us. Yours, Sir Reginald Ashwood. Poirot's eyebrows arched. The phrase danger may lurk among the pages was delightfully vague, a challenge wrapped in an invitation. He leaned back in his chair, stroking his mustache. Danger, toujours danger, he murmured. But what is a weekend without a puzzle for Poirot? With a decisive nod, he penned his acceptance and summoned his valet to prepare his traveling case. Ashwood Manor, he sensed, would be a stage for more than a mere unveiling. The journey to Kent was a study in contrasts. The train from London chugged through the bustling city, its smoke curling into the gray sky before giving way to the rolling green hills of the countryside. Poirot, dressed in a tailored black suit with a pristine white shirt and a burgundy tie, gazed out the window, his mind already turning over the possibilities. What danger could threaten a manuscript? Theft, perhaps? Or something more sinister? His fingers tapped a rhythm on the armrest, a silent ode to anticipation. Ashwood Manor appeared as the train rounded a bend, its silhouette emerging from the fog like a specter. The estate was a grand Georgian edifice, its red brick facade adorned with ivy that clung like whispered secrets. Tall chimneys pierced the mist, and the windows glowed with the promise of warmth. A gravel drive wound through manicured gardens leading to a porte cochere where a liveried footman awaited. Poirot alighted from the hired car, his patent leather shoes crunching on the gravel, and inhaled the crisp air. Magnifique, he murmured, though his eyes scanned the manor with the precision of a hawk. Inside, the entrance hall was a cathedral of opulence. A chandelier dripped with crystal, casting prisms of light across marble floors. A grand staircase spiraled upward, flanked by portraits of stern-faced Ashwoods gazing down with ancestral disapproval. Poirot was greeted by Mrs. Florence Gray, the housekeeper, a woman of middle years whose steel-gray hair was pulled into a severe bun. Her eyes, sharp as flint, assessed him with a mixture of deference and suspicion. Monsieur Poirot, welcome, she said, her voice clipped. Sir Reginald awaits you in the drawing room. The drawing room was a symphony of elegance, with velvet drapes in deep burgundy and a fire crackling in a massive hearth. Sir Reginald Ashwood stood to greet him, a tall man with silver hair and a patrician air. His eyes, however, betrayed a flicker of unease. Monsieur Poirot, your presence honors us, he said, shaking Poirot's hand. Allow me to introduce my guests. The company was as varied as a tapestry. Lady Beatrice Ashwood, Sir Reginald's wife, was a striking woman in her 40s, her auburn hair swept into an elegant chignon. Her emerald eyes sparkled with wit, but her smile was tight, as though guarding a secret. Dr. Evelyn Carver, a historian with a severe bob and wire-rimmed spectacles, clutched a notebook as if it were a lifeline. Her intensity suggested a mind consumed by her work. Mr. Julian Harrow, an art dealer with a roguish charm, flashed a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. His tailored suit was impeccable, but Poirot noted a frayed cuff, a sign of financial strain, perhaps. Miss Clara Pembroke, introduced as Sir Reginald's niece, was a delicate young woman with wide, nervous eyes and a habit of twisting her pearl necklace. Mr. Victor Langston, an American businessman, exuded brash confidence, his loud voice cutting through the room's refined murmur. Finally, Mrs. Gray lingered at the edges, her presence both unobtrusive and commanding, like a shadow that moved with purpose. Dinner was a lavish affair, served in a dining room paneled in dark oak. The table gleamed with silver and crystal, and the air was rich with the aroma of roasted pheasant and claret. Sir Reginald, at the head, spoke animatedly of the Emerald Codex. "A masterpiece," he declared. "Crafted by monks in the 12th century, its illuminations unrivaled. Its value is not merely monetary, it holds secrets of history." His guests listened with varying degrees of interest. Dr. Carver leaned forward, rapt. Harrow's eyes gleamed with avarice. Clara fidgeted, and Langston drummed his fingers impatiently. Poirot observed the undercurrents. Lady Beatrice's sharp retort to her husband's enthusiasm. "Reginald, must you bore us with your books?" drew a tense silence. Harrow's attempt to charm Clara was met with a blush and a quick glance away. Dr. Carver's questions about the Codex's provenance were met with Sir Reginald's evasive smile. "All will be revealed tomorrow," he said, raising his glass, "to the Codex and to secrets unveiled." As the evening drew to a close, Sir Reginald invited Poirot to view the Emerald Library, the heart of the manor. The library was a marvel, its walls lined with towering shelves of leather-bound books, their spines glinting under the green-tinted glow of brass lamps. A massive oak desk dominated the center, and a glass display case housed the Codex, its pages glowing with vibrant greens and golds. Poirot's eyes lingered on the lock, sturdy, intricate, and, he noted, recently polished. "A room of treasures," he said softly, "and perhaps of dangers." Sir Reginald's expression darkened. "You read my letter, Monsieur Poirot. I fear someone here may not be what they seem." He hesitated, then added, "The Codex is more than a book. It holds a truth some would kill to possess, or to bury." Poirot nodded, his mind alight. "Rest assured, Sir Reginald, Hercule Poirot is never far from the truth." As they returned to the drawing-room, the fog pressed against the windows, and Poirot felt the weight of unseen eyes. The stage was set, the players assembled, and the mystery of Ashwood Manor was about to unfold. Chapter 2. The Corpse in the Locked Library. The first light of dawn crept through the heavy velvet curtains of Ashwood Manor like a hesitant intruder, casting pale fingers across the corridors. It was Saturday morning, the day appointed for the grand unveiling of the Emerald Codex. The household stirred with the subdued energy of anticipation, or so it seemed. In the kitchens below, Mrs. Florence Gray moved with her customary precision, directing the undermaids in the preparation of breakfast trays. The scent of freshly baked scones and strong Darjeeling tea wafted upward, a comforting counterpoint to the chill that lingered in the air. Upstairs, Hercule Poirot awoke at precisely 6:30, as was his unvarying habit. He performed his ablutions with meticulous care. A hot towel to the face, the precise application of pomade to his mustache, twisted to perfection, and a spritz of lavender cologne. Dressed in a crisp white shirt, gray waistcoat, and black morning coat, he descended to the breakfast room, his patent leather, shoes silent on the Persian rugs. The room was empty save for a sideboard laden with silver chafing dishes. Poirot selected a poached egg, a thin slice of ham, and black coffee, strong without milk or sugar. He ate methodically, his sharp eyes noting the absence of the other guests. "It is early yet," he murmured to himself. "But Sir Reginald, he is an early riser, no?" As the clock struck 7, a murmur of voices echoed from the hall. Poirot set down his napkin and rose, his curiosity piqued. He stepped into the corridor to find Mrs. Gray, her face ashen, flanked by 2 wide-eyed footmen. "Monsieur Poirot," she gasped, her voice a rare tremor in its steel. "Sir Reginald? He's not answered his door. And the library key. It's with him always." Poirot's little gray cells stirred. "Show me, madam." Quickly but calmly, the procession made its way down the east wing, past portraits whose painted eyes seemed to follow their haste. The emerald library door loomed at the corridor's end, a massive slab of oak, reinforced with iron bands, its lock gleaming like a watchful eye. Mrs. Gray produced a master key from her pocket, but shook her head. "No, sir. Sir Reginald insisted on locking it from inside after last night's viewing. The only key is his." Poirot knelt, examining the keyhole with a pocket lens. No scratches, no signs of tampering. "Fetch Inspector Hargreaves from the village," he instructed a footman, "and summon the household. But touch nothing." Within minutes, the manor buzzed with alarm. Lady Beatrice Ashwood appeared first, her silk dressing gown hastily tied, her emerald eyes wide with shock. "Reginald? What nonsense is this?" Dr. Evelyn Carver followed, her spectacles askew, clutching a robe over her nightdress. Mr. Julian Harrow slouched in, his hair disheveled, a cigarette dangling from his lips. Miss Clara Pembroke trembled in the doorway, her pearl necklace clutched like a talisman. Mr. Victor Langston stormed in last, his American drawl booming. "What in tarnation's going on? I've got a train to catch." Poirot raised a hand for silence. "Mesdames et messieurs, compose yourselves. Mrs. Gray, if you please. The master key." With trembling hands, she inserted it. The lock turned with a reluctant click, and the door swung inward on well-oiled hinges. A wave of musty air laced with the faint tang of ink and old leather escaped. The library was dim, lit only by the weak morning light filtering through bolted windows. And there, at the great oak desk in the center, slumped Sir Reginald Ashwood. He was dead. His silver head rested on folded arms, but blood, dark and congealing, had pooled beneath, staining the green baize blotter. Protruding from his chest, just below the left collarbone, was the hilt of a dagger, ornate, with a jade handle carved in the shape of a serpent. Its blade had pierced true into the heart. The Emerald Codex's display case stood empty, its glass intact, but the lock picked clean. Papers were scattered, an inkpot overturned, its black spill forming a Rorschach of chaos. In the grate, a single sheet of paper smoldered, its edges curling like dying fingers. And overlying it all, a faint acrid scent, not of the room's usual pipe tobacco, but of a fine Havana cigar. Poirot stepped forward, his face impassive, but his mind a whirlwind. "Do not enter, I pray you. This is a crime scene." He circled the body slowly, his eyes missing nothing. Sir Reginald's right hand clutched the key in his pocket as if to guard it even in death. The windows, 3 tall sashes, were bolted from inside, their latches secure. No secret panels marred the walls. Poirot rapped each with his knuckles, hearing only solid oak. The door had been locked from within. An impossible crime. The wail of a police motorbike pierced the fog outside. Inspector Hargreaves, a ruddy-faced man in his 50s with a walrus mustache of his own, burst in, notebook at the ready. Sir Reginald Ashwood, eh? Murder by the looks. And the door locked? Blimey. He puffed out of breath. Constables securing the grounds. No one in or out since dawn. Poirot inclined his head. Exactement, Inspector. Hercule Poirot at your service. Allow me to assist. Hargreaves grunted assent. Poirot began his examination with the precision of a surgeon. First, the body. Rigor mortis just setting in, suggesting death between midnight and 2 a.m. The dagger, Poirot lifted it gingerly by the hilt, matched a set on the desk, used for opening crates of books. No fingerprints, wiped clean. The spilled ink fresh but drying at the edges. The burned letter, he retrieved it with tongs, blowing gently. Fragments remained. Blackmail. Codex. Must silence. The rest was ash. The cigar scent intrigued him most. Sir Reginald did not smoke cigars, only his pipe. Poirot sniffed the air, tracing it to a half-smoked stub ground into the rug near the desk. Imported Cuban, expensive. He pocketed it carefully. Now the alibis. Poirot turned to the doorway where the suspects huddled like players in a tableau. One by one, if you please, state your movements last night after the library viewing at 10 p.m. Lady Beatrice spoke first, her voice steady but brittle. I retired to my room at 10:30. Reginald stayed in the library. I read until midnight, then slept. Alone. Her eyes flicked to the body, a tear tracing her cheek. Dr. Evelyn Carver adjusted her spectacles. I returned to my guest room in the East Wing. Worked on notes until 1 a.m. The wall is thick. I heard nothing. Her hands twisted her notebook. Mr. Julian Harrow exhaled smoke from a fresh cigarette. Langston and I played cards in the billiard room till 11. Then bed. Snored like a baby. Ask Vic. Mr. Victor Langston nodded vigorously. Darn right. Poker till 11, then lights out. That limey clock woke me at 7. Miss Clara, Pembroke whispered. I couldn't sleep. Walked in the garden till 11:30. The fog was thick. Then to bed. Mrs. Florence Gray met Poirot's gaze unflinchingly. Kitchen duties till 10. Checked the library door, locked. Then my quarters above stairs. Slept sound. Poirot nodded, committing each to memory. And the key, Madame Gray? Only Sir Reginald had it? Yes, sir. Spare is in the safe, untouched. Inspector Hargreaves scratched his head. Locked room, stolen book, dagger from the desk, impossible unless suicide, but who steals their own codex? Or a ghost did it? Poirot smiled faintly. No ghosts, Inspector, only human folly. Observe. The ink spill dripped from the desk edge, suggesting a struggle, yet no overturned chair. The windows bolted. Check the sills. He pointed. Faint dew outside, undisturbed. No footprints. The cigar stub. Whose vice is this? Harrow shifted. Not mine. I smoke Turkish. Langston guffawed. Cuban? That's my brand, but I was playing cards. Carver frowned. Sir Reginald hated cigars, said they ruined books. Clara paled. Uncle. Oh, God. Lady Beatrice whispered. Julian smokes them sometimes. Discreetly. Harrow flushed. Lady Beatrice, I do not. Poirot raised a hand. Enough. The alibis, they are neat, too neat, but details, mon ami, they betray. He circled the room once more, pausing at the fireplace. Beneath the grate, a glimmer, a droplet of green wax, hardened like a tear. A candle? The library lamps were electric. Poirot pocketed it, then the empty case, no glass shards, lock picked by an expert. The codex is gone, but the murders, it was personal. Blackmail, perhaps. The letter suggests. Hargreaves whistled. You've got more in 5 minutes than I'd get in a day. But how'd the killer leave? Poirot straightened, his eyes gleaming. Ah, Inspector, that is the heart of it. This is no ordinary murder. It is a locked room, oui, but locks can deceive. Windows bolted, door secured, yet death entered. The truth lies in the details, mes amis. The ink, the smoke, the wax, they whisper. The group murmured, tension coiling like fog. Outside, the constable's whistle signaled the grounds were sealed. No escape for the guilty. Poirot turned to them, his voice soft but commanding. No one leaves Ashwood Manor until Hercule Poirot says so. The little gray cells, they work now. Lady Beatrice swayed. Clara sobbed quietly. Dr. Carver scribbled furiously. Harrow lit another cigarette. Turkish. Langston paced. Mrs. Gray stood sentinel, her eyes unreadable. As the morning sun burned away the mist, casting verdant light through the bolted windows, Poirot stood over the corpse. Sir Reginald's sightless eyes stared at the empty case, as if accusing the void. The Emerald Library, once a sanctuary of knowledge, had become a tomb. And somewhere among these souls the killer lurked, smoking perhaps in the shadows. Chapter 3. The investigation begins. The morning light in Ashwood Manor was feeble, as though reluctant to illuminate the tragedy within. The Emerald Library, its shelves heavy with leather-bound volumes, seemed to hold its breath. Sir Reginald Ashwood's body had been removed to a cold storeroom pending the coroner's arrival. But the blood-stained blotter and the empty display case remained, stark reminders of murder and theft. Hercule Poirot stood at the center of the room, his black shoes gleaming against the Persian rug, his mustache perfectly symmetrical. Inspector Hargreaves hovered nearby, notebook in hand, muttering about damned impossible crimes. Poirot's eyes, sharp as a falcon's, swept the library. The bolted windows, the locked door, the spilled ink, the green wax droplet, the cigar stub. All pieces of a puzzle that refused to align. Inspector, he said, his voice soft but commanding. We begin with method and order. First the interviews, then the room. The truth it hides, but it cannot escape Hercule Poirot. Hargreaves nodded, his walrus mustache twitching. Right, sir. I've got the household gathered in the drawing room, shall we? The drawing room was a stark contrast to the library's gloom. Sunlight streamed through tall windows, glinting off the crystal chandelier and bathing the velvet drapes in a warm glow. Yet the atmosphere was taut, the air thick with suspicion. The suspects sat in a semicircle, their faces a gallery of emotions. Lady Beatrice Ashwood, composed but pale, her emerald eyes darting. Dr. Evelyn Carver, clutching her notebook like a shield. Mr. Julian Harrow, lounging with forced nonchalance, a cigarette smoldering. Miss Clara Pembroke, twisting her pearl necklace, her eyes red-rimmed. Mr. Victor Langston, pacing like a caged bear. And Mrs. Florence Gray, standing apart, her steel-gray bun as unyielding as her gaze. Poirot positioned himself before the hearth, hands clasped behind his back. Mesdames et messieurs, he began, his Belgian accent lending a musical cadence to his words. A crime has been committed, most heinous. Sir Reginald is dead, the Emerald Codex stolen. The room was locked, the key in his pocket. Yet someone entered, killed, and left. This is not magic, it is human cunning. I will ask questions, and you will answer with truth. The little gray cells, they listen. He turned first to Lady Beatrice, whose silk gown whispered as she straightened. Madam, your husband, his mood last night, did it strike you as unusual? Lady Beatrice's lips tightened. Reginald was preoccupied. He spoke of the codex incessantly as if it were more than a book. We quarreled. Nothing new. Our marriage was not warm. She hesitated, then added, "He hinted at a secret, something about the codex's history. I thought it nonsense." Poirot's eyes gleamed. "A secret, madam? And your movements after retiring at 10:30? I read in my room. Thackeray, if you must know. I heard nothing until Mrs. Gray's cry this morning." Her voice was steady, but her fingers plucked at her sleeve. Poirot nodded, turning to Dr. Evelyn Carver. "Mademoiselle, the codex was your passion. Tell me of your evening." Dr. Carver pushed her spectacles up her nose, her voice crisp. "I retired to my room at 10:30, as I said. I was drafting a paper on medieval manuscripts. The codex could have made my career. Its illuminations are unique. I heard nothing, saw nothing. My room is in the East Wing, far from the library." "And your interest in the codex?" Puy de Mainrot pressed. "It was purely academic?" Her eyes flashed. "Of course. Its loss is a tragedy for scholarship, not just for Sir Reginald." Poirot's gaze shifted to Mr. Julian Harrow, who exhaled a plume of Turkish cigarette smoke. "Monsieur Harrow, you and Monsieur Langston played cards until 11. Then what?" Harrow smirked, but his eyes were wary. "Bed, Monsieur Poirot. I was in debt to some unsavory types, I'll admit. Sir Reginald was considering a deal, selling a painting through me to settle it. But murder, not my style." He flicked ash into a tray, his cuff revealing a frayed edge. Mr. Victor Langston stopped pacing, his broad face flushed. "Same as Harrow. Poker till 11, then my room. I was here to invest in the codex, maybe buy it for a collector back in Chicago. Sir Reginald was stalling, said he needed to verify something. I didn't kill him for it." Poirot's mustache twitched. "And you, monsieur, smoke cigars? Cuban, perhaps?" Langston grinned. "Sure do. Best in the world, but I smoked none last night. Cards and whiskey, that's all." Miss Clara Pembroke flinched as Poirot's gaze fell on her. "Mademoiselle, the garden at 11:30 in the fog, most curious. What did you see?" Clara's voice was barely a whisper. I needed air. The dinner, Uncle Reginald's talk of secrets, it upset me. I saw no one, heard nothing, just the fog." Her fingers twisted her pearls until one snapped free, rolling across the floor. Poirot retrieved it, handing it back with a gentle smile. "Courage, mademoiselle. The truth will protect you." Finally, Mrs. Florence Gray. "Madame, you checked the library door at 10. Locked, oui?" "Yes, sir," she said, her voice flat. "Sir Reginald was particular. I saw the light under the door, heard him moving papers. My quarters are above stairs. I heard nothing after." Poirot paced slowly, his hands clasped. "Alibis all neat. Yet someone entered that room, someone killed. Let us return to the scene." Back in the library, Poirot resumed his examination, Hargreaves trailing like a faithful hound. The room was untouched, save for the body's removal. Poirot knelt by the desk, his lens glinting. The ink spill had dried, but a faint smear led to the edge, suggesting a hand brushed through it. The burned letter, fragments, blackmail, codex, silence, lay in an evidence bag. Poirot traced the fireplace, retrieving another fragment. Trust no one. He frowned. Blackmail, then. But who? The cigar stub, now in a glass vial, reeked of Havana leaf. Poirot sniffed it again, then scanned the room. No ashtray held cigars, only Sir Reginald's pipe tobacco. "This stub, Inspector, it is foreign to this room. A clue or a distraction?" Hargreaves scratched his head. "Could be anyone's. Langston admitted to Cubans." "Oui, but he claims none last night. And Monsieur Harrow, he denies it, yet Lady Beatrice suggests otherwise." Poirot's eyes narrowed. "We verify." He moved to the empty display case. The lock, picked with surgical precision, bore no scratches. "An expert. Poirot murmured, or someone with time. He examined the windows again. Bolts secure, sills pristine. No footprints in the dew outside. The door's lock was equally untouched. Impossible, Hargreaves muttered, unless they flew. Poirot's gaze fell on the green wax droplet nestled beneath the grate. He scraped it into a vial. A candle, Inspector. The lamps are electric. Why a candle? To see in secret. To destroy a key, perhaps. He straightened, his mind racing. Then, a discovery. Behind the desk, a panel in the oak wainscoting clicked under his touch. It sprang open, revealing a shallow compartment. Inside, a single note in Sir Reginald's hand. The emerald hides the truth. Poirot's pulse quickened. The codex, or something more? He summoned the suspects to the library door, holding the note aloft. Who among you knows what this means? Lady Beatrice paled. Reginald's riddles. He loved them. Dr. Carver's eyes lit up. The codex's illuminations. Emerald ink. Perhaps a hidden message? Harrow snorted. Sounds like a ghost story. Clara whispered. He said. It was dangerous knowledge. Langston shrugged. Beats me. I just wanted the book. Mrs. Gray said nothing, her face a mask. Poirot folded the note. This library, it holds secrets beyond the codex. Someone here knows more than they say. The alibis. They bend, they crack. Monsieur Harrow, your card game ended at 10:45, not 11. Mrs. Gray heard you pass the kitchen. Mademoiselle Clara, the garden path is muddy, yet your shoes are clean. Details, mes amis. They betray. The group exchanged glances, some defiant, others fearful. Hargreaves coughed. What now, Poirot? Now, Inspector, we dig deeper. The cigar, the wax, the note, they speak. The locked room is a lie, a clever lie. Hercule Poirot will find how. As the suspects dispersed, Poirot lingered, his eyes on the empty case. The library's green-tinted lamps flickered, casting shadows that danced like conspirators. Outside, the fog clung to the manor, a silent accomplice. The truth was close, but it wore a mask. Poirot's little gray cells hummed, sensing the killer's presence in the alibi's gaps. The clues whispers. Chapter 4. Clues and Red Herrings. The afternoon sun struggled to pierce the fog enveloping Ashwood Manor, casting a muted glow through the library's bolted windows. Hercule Poirot stood alone in the Emerald Library, the air heavy with the scent of old books and lingering tragedy. The blood-stained blotter had been removed, but the desk bore the scars of violence. A faint smear of dried ink, a scratch where the dagger had nicked the wood. Inspector Hargreaves had retreated to the village to summon the coroner, leaving Poirot to his methodical pursuit of truth. The suspects, confined to the manor, moved like chess pieces in a game only Poirot understood. He began with the clues already unearthed. The cigar stub reeking of Cuban leaf, the green wax droplet beneath the fireplace grate, the burned letter fragments hinting at blackmail, and the cryptic note from the hidden compartment, "The emerald hides the truth." Each was a thread in a tapestry of deceit, but red herrings abounded, threatening to obscure the pattern. Poirot's mustache twitched as he murmured, "The truth. It is like a rare manuscript, delicate, hidden, but not invisible to the patient eye." He returned to the display case, its lock picked with surgical precision. The Emerald Codex's absence gnawed at him. Was it stolen for profit or to conceal the truth Sir Reginald feared? He examined the shelves, running gloved fingers along the spines. One book, a slim volume on medieval heraldry, was slightly askew. He pulled it free, revealing a faint smudge of green ink on its edge. Emerald ink, like the Codex's illuminations. Inside, a margin note in a different hand. R.A. knows, Codex key to ruin. Poirot's pulse quickened. R.A. Sir Reginald. But whose ruin? He pocketed the book and moved to the garden door, accessible from the library's side entrance. The gravel path outside was raked smooth, but a single cigar stub, Cuban like the one inside, lay half buried near a rose bush. Poirot crouched, noting its damp tip, as if discarded in haste. 2 cigars, he mused. One in the library, one here. A careless killer or a deliberate misdirection? His next stop was Clara Pembroke's room, where a maid had reported a curious find. In a wastebasket hidden beneath crumpled tissues was a torn glove, fine leather monogrammed J.H. Julian Harrows. Poirot examined it. The tear was clean, as if sliced deliberately. A frame-up, perhaps, or a clumsy mistake. He sealed it in an envelope, his mind turning to Clara's nervous demeanor. Her alibi, walking the garden in fog, lacked witnesses, and her clean shoes contradicted the muddy path. In the billiard room, Poirot found a ledger discarded behind a cushion. It was Sir Reginald's, detailing financial troubles. Debts to a London bank, payments to an unnamed EC, Dr. Evelyn Carver. The sums were substantial enough to ruin a scholar's reputation if tied to blackmail. Poirot's eyes gleamed. Money, always money. Or is it pride? He summoned the suspects to the drawing room where tension hung like a storm cloud. Lady Beatrice sat rigid, her emerald eyes guarded. Dr. Carver scribbled in her notebook, her pen scratching audibly. Harrow lit another Turkish cigarette, his fingers trembling. Clara clutched her pearls, her face pale. Langston paced, muttering about missed trains. Mrs. Gray stood by the door, her expression unreadable. Poirot held up the torn glove. "Monsieur Harrow, this is yours, no? Found in Mademoiselle Clara's room." Harrow's cigarette dropped. "Mine? Preposterous! I don't wear gloves indoors. Someone's playing tricks," Clara gasped. "I didn't. Someone must have put it there." Poirot's gaze shifted to the cigar stub from the garden. "Monsieur Langston, you favor Cubans. This was found outside. Care to explain?" Langston's face reddened. "I told you I smoked none last night. Someone's setting me up too." Dr. Carver's pen paused. "This is absurd. Why focus on trifles when the codex is gone?" Poirot smiled faintly. "Trifles, mademoiselle. They are the alphabet of truth. And this," he produced the ledger, "suggests Sir Reginald had financial entanglements, payments to EC. Who might that be?" Carver's spectacles slipped. I don't know. Sir Reginald funded my research, yes, but that's all." Lady Beatrice's voice was sharp. "Reginald was reckless with money. He bought books, not loyalty." Mrs. Gray spoke softly. "The master was generous. Too generous, perhaps." Poirot nodded, then revealed the heraldry book. "A note, mes amis. R.A. knows. Codex key to ruin." "Who wrote this?" Silence fell, broken only by Clara's sob. "Uncle said the codex held a secret, something shameful." Poirot paced, his voice deliberate. "Let us test these alibis. A reconstruction, if you please. Return to your positions at 10 p.m. last night and move as you did." The group complied reluctantly. Lady Beatrice ascended to her room, her footsteps echoing. Dr. Carver retreated to the east wing, slamming her door. Harrow and Langston reenacted their card game, but Poirot noted their timing. Harrow left the billiard room at 10:40, not 11, passing the kitchen where Mrs. Gray heard him. Clara walked the garden path, but Poirot stopped her. "Mademoiselle, the mud. Show me your shoes from last night." Clara hesitated, then produced a pair from her room. Spotless. I cleaned them," she stammered. Poirot's eyes narrowed. "In the fog at midnight? Curious." Mrs. Gray confirmed her kitchen duties, but Poirot pressed. "The library door, madame. You saw light beneath it. Did you hear voices?" She stiffened. "No, sir. Just papers rustling." Langston growled, "This is a waste of time. The killer's laughing while we play act." Poirot raised a hand. Patience, monsieur. The killer is here, and the killer makes mistakes. The glove, the cigar, the ledger, they point, but not clearly. The note in the book, it speaks of ruin. Whose? He dismissed them save for Inspector Hargreaves, who had returned, puffing. Blimey, Poirot, you've got them squirming. But that glove, harrows in deep. Perhaps, Poirot said. Or it is a red herring placed to mislead. The cigar, 2 stubs, one inside, one out. The killer smokes or wishes us to think so. And the wax, why a candle in an electric room? Hargreaves scratched his head. The codex, worth a fortune. Maybe it's just theft gone wrong. Poirot shook his head. No, Inspector, the codex was not stolen for money. The note, the blackmail, it is personal. Sir Reginald knew something, and it cost him his life. He returned to the library, alone now, the green-tinted lamps casting an eerie glow. He examined the heraldry book again, tracing the emerald ink. The codex's illuminations were famous for their green hue. Could it hide a code, a message? He tapped the desk, his mind racing. The ledger's payments to EC suggested a financial motive, but Carver's academic zeal seemed genuine. Harrow's debts were a stronger lure, yet his alibi held, barely. Clara's clean shoes and nervous tears hinted at a secret, but was it guilt? Mrs. Gray's loyalty was unshakable, yet her access to keys was undeniable. Langston's brashness masked something, greed or fear. Poirot paused at the fireplace, the green wax droplet glinting in his mind. A candle, he murmured. To melt a key? To read in secret, or to burn evidence? He knelt, searching the grate. A faint scrape revealed another clue, a shard of green sealing wax stamped with a tiny crest, a quill, like the Ashwood seal. Mon Dieu, he whispered. The emerald hides the truth. He stood, his eyes gleaming. The red herrings, they multiply, the glove, the cigars, the ledger, but the wax, the note, they are the spine of this mystery. Someone entered this room, killed and left, locking the door behind. The how, it eludes me, but not for long. Outside, the fog thickened, cloaking the manor in silence. The suspects retreated to their rooms, their alibis fraying like old thread. Poirot felt the killer's presence, a shadow among shadows watching his every move. The library shelves loomed, their books whispering secrets only Poirot could hear. The truth was close, but it danced just out of reach, veiled by clever lies. Chapter 5. Complications and Twists. The fog over Ashwood Manor thickened as evening fell, wrapping the estate in a cocoon of gray silence. Inside the Emerald Library, Hercule Poirot stood beneath the green-tinted lamps, their light casting eerie patterns across the shelves. The clues he had gathered, the cigar stubs, the green wax, the burned letter fragments, the cryptic note, the torn glove, and the ledger, formed a mosaic, but gaps remained. The locked room mocked him, its secrets as impenetrable as the oak door. Yet Poirot's little gray cells hummed with purpose. The truth, he murmured. It is like a rare book, hidden, but not lost. Inspector Hargreaves had returned from the village, his walrus mustache bristling with frustration. No coroner till morning, Poirot. Fog's too thick for the roads, and that codex worth a king's ransom. If it's not theft, what's the motive? Poirot's eyes gleamed. Motive, Inspector, is a many-headed beast. Blackmail, perhaps. Or a secret Sir Reginald uncovered. The note, the emerald hides the truth. It points to the codex, but also to something deeper. He resumed his examination, focusing on the desk. The scratch from the dagger was shallow, deliberate. The ink smear suggested a struggle, but no chair was overturned, no books disturbed. Precision, Poirot mused. The killer was calm, calculated. He re-examined the fireplace where the green wax shard bore the Ashwood crest. A seal, melted in haste, To destroy evidence or to forge it? His thoughts were interrupted by a commotion in the hall. Mrs. Florence Gray burst in, her face pale. "Monsieur Poirot, the library chandelier, it's the Codex." Poirot and Hargreaves hurried to the center of the room where the massive crystal chandelier hung like a frozen waterfall. Mrs. Gray pointed to a glint among the prisms. There, wedged between the ornate arms, was the emerald Codex, its leather cover unmistakable. Hargreaves gasped. "Blimey, hidden in plain sight?" Poirot climbed a stepladder, his movements precise despite the height. He retrieved the Codex, its emerald illuminations glowing even in the dim light. The lock on its cover was intact, but a single page was loose, tucked into the binding. On it, in Sir Reginald's hand, "The quill betrays the blood." Poirot's pulse quickened. The Codex was not stolen, it was staged. The killer wished us to believe it gone. Hargreaves scratched his head. But why hide it here? To sell later? Non-inspector, to distract. The murder is the heart of this crime, not the theft. Poirot descended, clutching the Codex. "This note, it speaks of blood. A family secret, perhaps." He summoned the suspects to the drawing room, the Codex under his arm. The group assembled, their faces a mix of relief and dread. Lady Beatrice's eyes widened at the sight of the book. "You found it? Then it wasn't stolen?" Poirot held up a hand. "Found, oui, but not by chance. Hidden in the chandelier, a bold deception. Why stage a theft? To mislead Hercule Poirot, perhaps, but I am not so easily fooled." Dr. Evelyn Carver leaned forward, her spectacles glinting. "The Codex is safe, thank God, but that note, what does it mean?" Poirot read aloud. "The quill betrays the blood. Who can explain?" Clara Pembroke gasped, her pearls slipping through her fingers. "Blood. Uncle Reginald said something about family shame, but he wouldn't tell me." Mr. Victor Langston snorted. "Sounds like a lot of hocus pocus. I just wanted to buy the damn thing." Mr. Julian Harrow lit a cigarette, his hands steady now. "Family secrets? Not my concern. I just needed Sir Reginald's deal to clear my debts." Mrs. Gray's voice was low. "Sir Reginald was my brother, estranged. He spoke of a past mistake but never shared it." Poirot's eyes widened. "Your brother, madam? This is new. Why estranged?" Mrs. Gray's lips tightened. "A family matter long buried. I served him out of duty, not love." Lady Beatrice laughed bitterly. "Duty? You hovered like a vulture, Florence." Poirot raised a hand. "Enough. This revelation changes much. Madame Gray, you had access to spare keys. The library lock, was there a duplicate?" Mrs. Gray stiffened. "No, sir. Only Sir Reginald's key and the master in the safe." Poirot nodded, filing the information away. "Let us speak of blackmail. The burned letter. Blackmail, Codex silence. Who among you feared Sir Reginald's knowledge?" Silence fell, heavy as the fog outside. Then a new twist. Clara rose, trembling. I must confess. I'm not his niece. I'm his daughter, illegitimate. He promised to acknowledge me in his will, but only if I kept silent. The Codex, he said it held proof of my birth hidden in its pages." Lady Beatrice's face drained of color. "His daughter? You little—" Poirot intervened. "Madame, control yourself. Mademoiselle Clara, this proof, what is it?" Clara shook her head. "A letter sewn into the binding he wouldn't show me." Poirot examined the Codex, finding a faint seam in the leather. He hesitated. Opening it would damage the artifact. "Later," he murmured. "This is motive, oui. But for murder?" Another shock came from Langston. "Fine, I'll come clean. I was bribing Sir Reginald, not for the Codex itself, but for what it hid. My client, a Chicago collector, wanted it secret, a lineage scandal tied to European royalty. Sir Reginald refused to sell, said it'd ruin reputations. Poirot's mustache twitched. Royalty? This grows complex. And you, Monsieur Harrow? Your debts, did they push you to act? Harrow exhaled smoke. I told you I was negotiating a painting sale, not murder. Dr. Carver spoke up, her voice sharp. This is ridiculous. The Codex's value is academic, not scandal. I'd never kill for it. Poirot paced, his mind a whirl of connections. A staged theft, a family secret, blackmail, bribery, the threads tangle. But the locked room, how? The key was in Sir Reginald's pocket, the windows bolted. Yet someone entered. As the group dispersed, a scream echoed from the library. Poirot and Hargreaves raced back, finding a bookshelf toppled, narrowly missing Poirot. Books lay scattered, their pages fluttering like wounded birds. A rope tied to a high shelf dangled, cut, not frayed. Mon Dieu, Poirot whispered. The killer strikes again. Hargreaves paled. Attempted murder? On you? Oui, Inspector. The truth grows dangerous. Poirot examined the rope, noting its clean cut. Someone fears my little gray cells. He gathered the suspects again, his voice stern. This act proves the killer is among us, desperate to silence me. The rope, cut with a blade, perhaps the dagger's twin. Who has access to such tools? Mrs. Gray spoke. The library tools are in a locked drawer. Only I have the key. Poirot's eyes narrowed. And yet, madam, you are Sir Reginald's sister. Motive, opportunity, both yours. She met his gaze. I served him despite our past. I'd not kill him. Clara sobbed. It's my fault. If I hadn't spoken of the Codex. Poirot raised a hand. Non, mademoiselle. The fault lies with the guilty, but the clues. They point in circles. The glove, perhaps to frame Monsieur Harrow. The cigars, to implicate Monsieur Langston. The wax. The note. Truths, not distractions. He returned to the library alone, the chandelier gleaming above. The Codex lay on the desk, its loose page whispering of blood and betrayal. Poirot traced the seam, tempted to cut it open, but paused. The quill betrays the blood, he murmured. A lineage, a scandal. But how was the room locked? He re-examined the door. The lock was pristine, but a faint scratch on the inner frame caught his eye. A hairline mark, as if a thin tool had been inserted. A duplicate key, he whispered. Melted, perhaps, in the fireplace with that wax. The theory fit, but proof was elusive. Outside, the fog pressed against the windows, a silent witness. The manor creaked as if protesting its secrets. Poirot felt the killer's presence, a shadow moving closer. The glove, the cigars, the ledger. They were distractions, but the wax, the note, the Codex. They were the spine of the mystery. The emerald hides the truth, he repeated. But whose truth? He stepped back, his eyes scanning the shelves. A faint scent lingered, not cigar, but perfume. Lilac, delicate, out of place. Lady Beatrice wore it, but so did Clara, faintly. Another red herring or a slip? Poirot's mind raced, piecing together the alibi's cracks. Harrow's early departure from cards, Clara's clean shoes, Mrs. Gray's access, Langston's bribe, Carver's obsession. Each had motive, each had opportunity, but only one had the cunning to lock the room. As night fell, the library's lamps flickered, casting long shadows. Poirot stood firm, his little gray cells burning. The killer was close, their desperation palpable. The Codex, the quill, the blood, they held the key. But the locked room remained a riddle, its solution tantalizingly near. Chapter 6. The Revelation. The evening draped Ashwood Manor in a heavy cloak of fog, the air thick with anticipation. In the emerald library, the green-tinted lamps cast their eerie glow, illuminating the oak desk where Sir Reginald Ashwood had met his end. Hercule Poirot stood at its center, the emerald codex in his hands, its leather cover cool against his gloved fingers. The clues had piled high: the cigar stubs, the green wax, the burned letter, the cryptic notes, the torn glove, the ledger, and the staged theft. The falling bookshelf, an attempt on his life, had only sharpened his resolve. The killer was among them, desperate, and Poirot's little gray cells were ready to unmask them. Inspector Hargreaves paced near the fireplace, his walrus mustache twitching. "Poirot, you've got the codex back, clues galore, and a near miss with that shelf. But this locked room, it's impossible. The key was in Sir Reginald's pocket, windows bolted. How'd the killer do it?" Poirot's eyes gleamed like polished jade. "Impossible, Inspector. Non. The impossible is merely the possible in disguise. The truth, it lies in the details, the wax, the smoke, the quill. Tonight we end this charade." He had summoned the suspects to the library, and they filed in, their faces a gallery of nerves and defiance. Lady Beatrice Ashwood, her emerald eyes guarded, sat rigid in a high-backed chair. Dr. Evelyn Carver clutched her notebook, her spectacles glinting with unease. Mr. Julian Harrow leaned against a shelf, a Turkish cigarette unlit between his fingers. Miss Clara Pembroke, revealed as Sir Reginald's illegitimate daughter, twisted her pearls, her eyes red-rimmed. Mr. Victor Langston stood with arms crossed, his American bravado fraying. Mrs. Florence Gray, Sir Reginald's estranged sister, lingered by the door, her steel-gray bun as unyielding as her gaze. Poirot placed the codex on the desk, its loose page. The quill betrays the blood, visible to all. "Mesdames et messieurs," he began, his voice soft but commanding, "we stand in the heart of a crime most cunning. Sir Reginald Ashwood murdered in a locked room. The Emerald Codex, hidden, not stolen. A dagger, a note, a web of lies. But Hercule Poirot sees through the fog. Let us reconstruct." He paced, hands clasped behind his back. "The crime. Sir Reginald was stabbed between midnight and 2 a.m. The room was locked, the key in his pocket, windows bolted. No secret passages, no forced entry. Yet someone entered, killed, and left. How? The answer lies in the lock." He pointed to the door. "A duplicate key, melted in the fireplace with green wax, stamped with the Ashwood crest. The wax, it tells us, the killer had access to Sir Reginald's private seal, a privilege of trust. The key was used to lock the door after the murder, creating the illusion of an impossible crime." Hargreaves gasped. "Melted? But where's the evidence?" Poirot produced the wax shard. "Here, Inspector." And the scratch on the door frame, a tool, perhaps a wire, to manipulate the lock. The killer planned meticulously. Lady Beatrice's voice was sharp. "A duplicate key? Only Reginald and Mrs. Gray had access to the safe." Mrs. Gray stiffened. "I never touched it, sir. The spare key is there still." Poirot nodded. "Oui, madame. But you are his sister, with motive, estrangement, perhaps resentment. Yet I look elsewhere. The cigar stub, Cuban, found in the library and garden. Monsieur Langston, you claim them, yet deny smoking that night." Langston's face reddened. "I told you I was in bed. Someone's framing me." Poirot raised a hand. "Patience. The cigar, it is a clue, but not the heart. The burned letter, blackmail, codex, silence, suggests Sir Reginald knew a secret. The note in the codex, the quill betrays the blood, points to lineage. Mademoiselle Clara, you are his daughter, a secret he hid. But there is more." He turned to the heraldry book, its margin note. "R.A. knows, codex key to ruin." "This," Poirot said, "speaks of ruin not for Sir Reginald, but for another. The codex's secret, a letter sewn in its binding proving Clara's birth, was a threat. But to whom?" Dr. Carver adjusted her spectacles. This is nonsense. The Codex is a scholarly treasure, not a scandal sheet. Poirot's gaze fixed on her. Is it, mademoiselle? You whose career rested on studying it. You who received payments from Sir Reginald noted as EC in his ledger. Payments for research or to silence a past? Carver paled. He funded my work, nothing more. Poirot stepped closer. No, you are the key, Dr. Evelyn Carver. You killed Sir Reginald Ashwood. A collective gasp rippled through the room. Carver's notebook fell, her hands trembling. Me? Absurd. I was in my room. Poirot's voice was relentless. Let us see. You met Sir Reginald in the library after hours using a duplicate key you forged, knowing his habits as his trusted scholar. You stabbed him with his own dagger, wiped it clean, and hid the codex in the chandelier to stage a theft. The cigar stub, borrowed from Monsieur Langston's case to mislead. The wax. You melted the key in the fireplace using a candle and Sir Reginald's seal to destroy evidence. The burned letter, your attempt to erase proof of your motive. Carver laughed, shrill. Motive? I had none. Poirot's eyes bored into hers. Oh, but you did. Sir Reginald discovered your past. A scandal, not academic, but personal. Years ago, you falsified research to secure your position. A secret Sir Reginald uncovered in the Codex's provenance. He blackmailed you, threatening exposure unless you paid. The ledger proves it. EC's was you. When he planned to reveal Clara's birth, it would expose your fraud, for the Codex's letter named your family as well, tied to a royal scandal. Ruin for you, mademoiselle. Clara sobbed. My birth? It was in the Codex? Poirot nodded. Oui, the letter, sewn in the binding, names you and a royal lineage, a scandal Dr. Carver could not allow. She killed to silence it. Harrow stepped forward, his face pale. Evelyn, tell me it's not true. Poirot turned. Monsieur Harrow, you were her accomplice, non? In love, perhaps. The torn glove in Clara's room. You planted it to frame her, protecting Dr. Carver. Harrow's cigarette fell. I loved her. She asked me to hide the glove, said it was a prank. I didn't know about murder. Carver's voice cracked. You're mad, Poirot. My alibi. Your alibi, Poirot interrupted, is false. The East Wing is quiet, but not soundproof. You slipped out unseen using the servant's stare. The lilac perfume, yours, not Lady Beatrice's, lingered in the library. A mistake. Carver stood, shaking. You have no proof. Poirot produced the codex, opening the seam with a penknife. A letter fell out, yellowed but clear. Sir Reginald's confession of Clara's birth, naming Carver's family as distant royals disgraced by her fraud. This, Poirot said, is your ruin. Carver lunged for the letter, but Hargreaves seized her. Enough, miss. You're nicked. She collapsed, sobbing. He'd have destroyed me. My career, my name, I had no choice. Harrow sank into a chair, head in hands. I didn't know, I swear. Poirot's voice softened. Love, it blinds, Monsieur Harrow. But the law, it sees clearly. Hargreaves handcuffed Carver, then turned to Harrow. You're coming too, lad. Accessory, at least. Lady Beatrice rose, her voice cold. You fool, Evelyn. Reginald was a tyrant, but this... Clara wept silently, clutching the letter. Mrs. Gray touched her shoulder, a rare gesture of warmth. You're free now, child, Langston muttered. Crazy Brits. I'm catching that train. Poirot turned to the group. The locked room, it was a lie. The duplicate key, melted in wax, locked the door after the deed. The cigar, the glove, red herrings to confuse. But the codex, the letter, they spoke truth. Sir Reginald died for a secret he could not keep. Hargreaves shook his head. Blimey, Poirot. You cracked it. Poirot's mustache twitched. The little gray cells, Inspector, they never fail. As Carver and Harrow were led away, the library seemed to exhale, its shadows retreating. The codex lay on the desk, its emerald illuminations gleaming, no longer a harbinger of death but a testament to truth. Outside, the fog began to lift, revealing the manor's silhouette against a starlit sky. Poirot stepped to the window, gazing out. The emerald hides the truth, but not from Hercule Poirot. He turned, his eyes warm but resolute. The case, it is not yet closed. Justice remains. Chapter 7, Justice Served. The fog that had clung to Ashwood Manor for days began to lift, as though the estate itself exhaled in relief. The morning sun cast a golden haze through the tall windows of the drawing room, where the remaining occupants gathered in the wake of Dr. Evelyn Carver's confession. The air was heavy with the aftermath of betrayal, yet lighter now, cleansed by truth. Hercule Poirot stood by the hearth, his black suit immaculate, his mustache perfectly symmetrical, his jade-green eyes reflecting a quiet satisfaction. The Emerald Codex rested on a side table, its leather cover gleaming under the chandelier's prisms. No longer a harbinger of death, but a symbol of resolution. Inspector Hargreaves, his walrus mustache bristling with purpose, had returned from the village with 2 constables. Dr. Carver sat in a corner handcuffed, her spectacles askew, her scholarly composure shattered. Mr. Julian Harrow, her unwitting accomplice, slumped beside her, his face pale, his usual roguish charm extinguished. The others, Lady Beatrice Ashwood, Miss Clara Pembroke, Mr. Victor Langston, and Mrs. Florence Gray, formed a somber circle, their eyes shifting between Poirot and the prisoners. Poirot clasped his hands behind his back, his voice soft but resonant. Mesdames et messieurs, the crime is solved, the truth revealed. Sir Reginald Ashwood, a man of secrets, was murdered in his locked library. The Emerald Codex, thought stolen, was hidden to deceive, but Hercule Poirot, he is not deceived. The little gray cells, they see what others miss. Hargreaves cleared his throat. A fine job, Poirot. Never seen a case like it. Locked room, melted keys, royal scandals. You've got the lot. Poirot inclined his head. Merci, Inspector. But let us recount for clarity. Dr. Evelyn Carver, driven by fear of ruin, killed Sir Reginald to silence his blackmail. He had discovered her falsified research, a scandal tied to a royal lineage hidden in the Codex's letter. She forged a duplicate key, entered the library, stabbed him with his own dagger, and hid the Codex in the chandelier. The cigar stub, the torn glove, these were distractions meant to point to others. He turned to Carver, whose head hung low. Mademoiselle, you confessed last night, but speak now. Why such desperation? Carver's voice was a whisper, broken. He'd have destroyed me. My career, my name, all built on a lie. Years ago, I fabricated sources to secure my position at the university. Sir Reginald found proof in the Codex's provenance, a letter linking my family to a disgraced royal line. He demanded payments, threatened exposure. When he planned to reveal Clara's birth, it would have exposed me too. I panicked. Clara, clutching the letter from the Codex, wiped her eyes. You killed my father. For your pride? Carver's sob was muffled. I'm sorry, Clara. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Poirot's gaze shifted to Harrow. And you, monsieur. Your love for Dr. Carver blinded you. The torn glove planted in Mademoiselle Clara's room. Your doing, oui? Harrow nodded, his voice hoarse. Evelyn asked me to hide it, said it was to scare Clara, keep her quiet about the Codex. I didn't know she'd killed him, I swear it. Lady Beatrice's laugh was bitter. Love? Foolishness. You both betrayed Reginald's trust. Mrs. Gray, standing by Clara, spoke softly. He was my brother, flawed but kind. His secrets hurt us all. Poirot raised a hand. Oui, secrets breed tragedy. But let us address the locked room, for it is the heart of this puzzle. Dr. Carver used a duplicate key, forged from Sir Reginald's seal, to enter and lock the door after the murder. The green wax melted in the fireplace was her attempt to destroy it. The cigar stub taken from Monsieur Langston's case was a red herring. The lilac perfume, hers, not Madame Beatrice's, betrayed her presence. The falling bookshelf, a desperate act to silence me, was her final mistake. Langston, his brash demeanor subdued, shook his head. I should have stayed in Chicago. All this for a book? Poirot smiled faintly. Not a book, monsieur. A truth. The Codex held Clara's birthright and Dr. Carver's ruin. Sir Reginald died to protect one and expose the other. Hargreaves stepped forward. Right then, Dr. Carver, you're charged with murder. Mr. Harrow, accessory after the fact. Constables, take them. The constables led Carver and Harrow out, their footsteps echoing in the marble hall. Carver's head bowed, her scholarly dreams in tatters. Harrow cast a last anguished glance at her, his regret palpable. The drawing room fell silent save for the crackle of the fire. Clara approached Poirot, the letter trembling in her hands. Monsieur Poirot, this letter, it proves I'm his daughter. What happens now? Poirot's voice was gentle. Mademoiselle, you are Sir Reginald's heir. The estate, it is yours, as is the Codex. The letter, it clears your name and honors your father's wish. Guard it well. Lady Beatrice rose, her emerald eyes softer now. Clara, I was harsh. Reginald's secrets hurt us both. You're welcome here if you'll stay. Clara nodded, tears falling. Thank you, Beatrice. I want to make things right. Mrs. Gray touched Clara's shoulder. Your family, child. We'll rebuild. Poirot turned to the Codex, now returned to its display case. This book, it is safe once more. Its secrets are no longer deadly, but it reminds us, knowledge, it is power, and power demands care. Langston, gathering his coat, muttered, I'm done with old books. Give me a Chicago stockyard any day. Poirot chuckled. Monsieur, each to his own, but the little gray cells, they thrive on such puzzles. Hargreaves clapped Poirot's shoulder. You're a marvel, sir. Scotland Yard could use you. Poirot waved a hand. No, Inspector, London is my home, but mysteries, they find me. This case, it is closed, but the heart, it feels the weight of human folly. As the group dispersed, Poirot lingered in the library, the green lamps casting long shadows. He traced the desk's edge where the dagger had left its mark. The room, once a tomb, felt alive again, its shelves whispering of stories yet untold. He opened the Codex, its emerald illuminations glowing like a promise. The quill betrays the blood, he murmured, but the truth, it sets free. Outside, the fog had lifted, revealing the rolling hills of Kent in crisp autumn light. The manor's chimneys stood tall, no longer shrouded in gloom. Poirot stepped into the hall where Clara and Mrs. Gray spoke quietly, their faces hopeful. Lady Beatrice joined them, her posture less rigid, a tentative smile forming. The wounds of Ashwood Manor would heal slowly under new stewardship. Poirot collected his hat and cane, preparing to depart. Hargreaves met him at the porte-cochere, where a car waited to return him to London. Safe travels, Poirot. You've done us proud. Poirot inclined his head. Merci, Inspector, but remember, the little gray cells, they never rest. Adieu. As the car wound down the gravel drive, Poirot gazed at the manor, its red brick glowing in the sunlight. The mystery of the Emerald Library was solved, the killer brought to justice, and Clara's future secured. Yet a pang lingered in his heart. Greed, pride, love, all had conspired to end a life. The human soul, he mused, it is the greatest puzzle of all. The car rounded a bend and Ashwood Manor vanished into the hills. Poirot leaned back, his eyes half closed, already anticipating the next challenge. For wherever secrets hid, Hercule Poirot would follow. Chapter 8. Shadows of Doubt. The morning after Dr. Evelyn Carver's confession, Ashwood Manor basked in a rare clarity, the fog having retreated to reveal the rolling Kent hills in crisp autumn light. The Emerald Library, its green-tinted lamps dimmed by daylight, stood silent, its shelves no longer whispering of murder but of resolution. Hercule Poirot, preparing to depart for London, stood in the entrance hall, his black suit pristine, his mustache a perfect crescent. The Emerald Codex was back in its display case, Clara Pembroke's inheritance secured, and justice, it seemed, served. Yet a faint unease lingered in Poirot's mind, a whisper that not all was as it appeared. Inspector Hargreaves, bustling with paperwork, joined him, his walrus mustache twitching with satisfaction. Case closed, Poirot. Carver's confessed, Harrow's an accessory, and the coroner's report confirms the dagger wound. Clean as a whistle, thanks to you. Poirot inclined his head, but his jade-green eyes were distant. Oui, Inspector, the case is neat, perhaps too neat. The little gray cells, they stir. Something. It does not align. Hargreaves frowned. What's that? You've got the killer, the motive, the how. What's nagging you? Poirot tapped his cane lightly. A detail, mon ami. The lilac perfume, Dr. Carver's. Oui, but also Mademoiselle Clara's faintly. And the wax seal. Why destroy a key so elaborately? The mind of Hercule Poirot, it questions. Before Hargreaves could respond, a cry echoed from the upper floor. Poirot and the inspector raced up the grand staircase, their footsteps muffled by the Persian runner. In Clara Pembroke's room, they found her kneeling beside an open trunk, a small leather-bound diary in her trembling hands. Her pearl necklace lay scattered across the floor, beads glinting like tears. Monsieur Poirot, she gasped, I found this, hidden in my mother's things. It's about my father. Poirot took the diary, its pages yellowed but legible. The entries, written in a delicate hand, were dated 20 years prior. Clara's mother, Margaret, chronicling her affair with Sir Reginald. One passage stood out. Reginald fears exposure, but not from me. Another knows. F threatens ruin. The Codex holds proof, but F holds power. Poirot's pulse quickened. F, he murmured. Mrs. Florence Gray? Clara's eyes widened. Mrs. Gray? But she's his sister. She protected me. Poirot's mustache twitched. Oui, mademoiselle, but family ties, they twist. We must speak with her. They found Mrs. Gray in the kitchen, directing the staff with her usual steel. Her gray bun was immaculate, but her eyes flickered with unease as Poirot approached, diary in hand. Madame Gray, a word. This diary, Margaret Pembroke's, it names F as a threat to Sir Reginald. You are his sister, estranged. What did you know? Mrs. Gray's hand stilled on a teapot. Margaret was a fool in love with Reginald. I knew of Clara's birth, yes. He cast me out when I urged him to acknowledge her years ago. I returned as housekeeper to watch over her, nothing more. Poirot's gaze was unrelenting. And the Codex? The diary suggests you knew its secret. She met his eyes. I knew it held Clara's birthright. Reginald told me in confidence before his death, but I'd not kill him for it. Poirot pocketed the diary. We shall see, madam. The truth, it hides in shadows. Back in the library, Poirot re-examined the clues with fresh eyes. The green wax shard, stamped with the Ashwood crest, nagged at him. He retrieved it from his evidence vial, holding it to the light. The crest was slightly distorted, as if pressed by an unsteady hand. Not Sir Reginald's seal, he murmured. A forgery, perhaps. He turned to the fireplace where the burned letter fragments, blackmail, Codex, silence, had been found. A faint residue in the grate caught his eye. More wax, but blue, not green. 2 seals, he whispered. 2 conspirators? Hargreaves, watching, scratched his head. Blimey, Poirot, you're not saying Carver's innocent. Non, Inspector, Dr. Carver killed, but perhaps not alone. The wax, the diary, they suggest another hand guiding or concealing. Poirot summoned the remaining suspects, Lady Beatrice, Clara, Mr. Victor Langston, and Mrs. Gray, to the drawing room. The air was taut, the chandelier's prisms casting fractured light. Poirot held up the diary. Mesdames et messieurs, a new clue. Margaret Pembroke's diary names F as a threat to Sir Reginald linked to the Codex, and this, he showed the blue wax, suggests a second seal, not the Ashwood crest. Someone else played a part in this crime. Lady Beatrice's emerald eyes narrowed. Florence, you knew Reginald's secrets. Mrs. Gray's voice was steady. I knew of Clara's birth, yes, but I protected her, not harmed him. Langston snorted. This is a circus. Carver confessed. Let's move on. Clara clutched her pearls, restrung now. Monsieur Poirot, I don't understand. Is Dr. Carver not the killer? Poirot paced, his cane tapping rhythmically. Dr. Carver killed we, but the web is wider. The blue wax, it is not Sir Reginald's. The diary suggests F knew the Codex's secret. And the bookshelf falling to silence me, who tied that rope? He turned to Mrs. Gray. Madam, as housekeeper you had access to wax seal's keys, the diary names F. You perhaps seeking revenge for your estrangement? Mrs. Gray's face hardened. I served Reginald despite our past. I'd not kill him. Poirot's eyes shifted to Lady Beatrice. Or you, madam. The lilac perfume shared with Clara was in the library. Did you know of the Codex's letter threatening your status? Lady Beatrice laughed coldly. I cared nothing for Reginald's books. My marriage was cold, but I'd not stoop to murder. Poirot nodded, then produced a new find, a small key found beneath a library rug, its edges blackened as if heated. This, mes amis, is the duplicate key, not fully melted, hidden, not destroyed. Someone wished it found. Later. Langston's jaw dropped. Another key? Then who? Poirot's voice sharpened. Mrs. Florence Gray, you are the shadow in this crime. You did not wield the dagger, but you aided Dr. Carver. The diary names you, F, as Sir Reginald's threat. You knew the Codex's letter could secure Clara's future, but also ruin your own past. You forged a second seal, blue wax, to mislead. You tied the bookshelf rope, fearing I'd uncover your role. Mrs. Gray's composure cracked. No, I only wanted Clara safe, Poirot pressed on. You supplied the duplicate key to Dr. Carver, knowing her desperation. You planted the cigar stub, aware of Langston's habit to confuse. The blue wax was your mistake, your own seal, not the Ashwood crest. Mrs. Gray sank into a chair, her voice a whisper. I helped Evelyn, yes. Reginald cast me out, refused Clara her due. I gave her the key, told her when he'd be alone. I didn't know she'd kill him. Hargreaves stepped forward. That's conspiracy, Mrs. Gray. You're under arrest, Clara gasped, reaching for Mrs. Gray. Aunt Florence, why? Mrs. Gray's eyes glistened. For you, child, to right his wrongs. Poirot's voice softened. Madame, your love for Clara blinded you, but justice, it sees all. As the constables led Mrs. Gray away, Lady Beatrice approached Clara, her tone softer. You're not alone, Clara. We'll manage the estate together. Clara nodded, tears falling. Thank you, Beatrice. Langston grabbed his hat. I'm done with this madhouse. Good luck, kid. Poirot returned to the library, alone, the Codex gleaming in its case. He traced the loose page. The quill betrays the blood. A family torn by secrets, he murmured, but now healed by truth. He stepped outside, the sun warming the gravel drive. The manor stood proud, its wounds mending. Poirot's car awaited, and as he climbed in, he glanced back. The little gray cells, they triumph, but the heart, it mourns. Chapter 9. The Unraveling Threads. The late afternoon sun bathed Ashwood Manor in a golden glow, its rays piercing the last wisps of fog that had cloaked the estate for days. The Emerald Library, once a tomb of secrets, stood serene, its green-tinted lamps dimmed, its shelves silent witnesses to the drama now nearing its close. Hercule Poirot, his black suit as pristine as ever, stood by the oak desk, the Emerald Codex secure in its display case. The arrests of Dr. Evelyn Carver and Mrs. Florence Gray had shaken the household, yet a faint unease lingered in Poirot's mind. A whisper that the tapestry of this crime held one final, elusive thread. Inspector Hargreaves, his walrus mustache drooping from exhaustion, joined Poirot in the library. "Blimey, Poirot, you've done it again. Carver for murder, Gray for conspiracy, Harrow as accessory. The coroner's report is in, death by dagger, as you said, case closed, surely." Poirot's jade-green eyes narrowed. "Closed, Inspector? Perhaps. But the little gray cells, they murmur. The blue wax seal, the diary's F. They fit Mrs. Gray, oui. Yet the lilac perfume shared by Mademoiselle Clara and Lady Beatrice, it nags. And the bookshelf. Why risk such a bold act to silence me?" Hargreaves scratched his head. "You're saying there's more? Another accomplice?" Poirot tapped his cane lightly. "Not an accomplice, perhaps, but a shadow. Someone who knew, who watched. The truth, it is like a book with a missing page, almost complete but not whole." As they spoke, a soft knock interrupted. Clara Pembroke stood at the door, her face pale but resolute, her pearl necklace restrung and gleaming. In her hands was a small locked box, its surface etched with the Ashwood crest. "Monsieur Poirot," she said, her voice trembling. "I found this in the attic, hidden among my mother's things. It might mean something." Poirot took the box, its weight surprising him. The lock was intricate, but a faint scratch suggested it had been opened recently. "Mademoiselle, when did you find this?" "This morning after Aunt Florence was taken, I was looking through Mother's trunks, trying to understand everything." Poirot examined the box, then glanced at Hargreaves. "Inspector, fetch a locksmith's tools. We open this with care." While Hargreaves retrieved the tools, Poirot summoned the remaining household, Lady Beatrice Ashwood and Mr. Victor Langston, to the drawing room. The chandelier's prisms cast fractured light, mirroring the fractured trust among them. Lady Beatrice, her emerald eyes guarded, sat with folded hands. Langston, his brash demeanor subdued, leaned against the mantel, itching to leave. Poirot held up the box. "Mesdames et messieurs, a new clue. A locked box found by Mademoiselle Clara bearing the Ashwood crest. It may hold the final piece of this puzzle, but first, let us revisit the shadows of doubt." He turned to Lady Beatrice. "Madam, your perfume, lilac, shared with Mademoiselle Clara, was in the library. You claim to be in your room reading Thackeray, yet the scent, it lingers. Did you visit the library that night?" Lady Beatrice's lips tightened. "I told you I retired at 10:30. The perfume is common. Clara wears it too." Clara nodded. "It's true, Monsieur Poirot. Mother gave me her bottle, but I was in the garden, not the library." Poirot's gaze shifted to Langston. "Monsieur, your cigars, Cuban like the stubs found in the library and garden. You deny smoking that night, yet the stubs suggest otherwise. Did you witness something?" Langston's face reddened. "I've said it a dozen times. I was playing cards, then bed. Someone pinched my cigars to frame me." Poirot nodded, his mustache twitching. "Oui, a frame, perhaps. But the box, it may tell us who." Hargreaves returned with a constable and a set of locksmith's tools. Poirot, with delicate precision, worked the lock until it clicked open. Inside was a bundle of letters tied with a faded ribbon and a small vial of blue wax, identical to the residue in the fireplace. The letters were in Sir Reginald's hand, addressed to Margaret Pembroke, Clara's mother. Poirot read aloud, "Margaret, my love, I cannot acknowledge Clara yet. F threatens to expose us, to ruin the Ashwood name. The Codex holds proof, but I fear F's power." Clara gasped. "Aunt Florence again." Poirot shook his head. "No, mademoiselle. The F in the diary was Mrs. Gray, oui, but these letters suggest another. The blue wax. It is not the Ashwood seal. It is a personal seal, one Sir Reginald feared." He examined the vial, noting a faint monogram. L.B. Lady Beatrice. Poirot's eyes gleamed. "Madame Beatrice, you knew of the Codex's secret. You supplied the blue wax used to forge a second seal. You were not the killer, but you were the puppet master." Lady Beatrice stood, her face pale. "This is outrageous. I knew nothing of murder." Poirot's voice was relentless. "You lie, madame. The letters reveal Sir Reginald's fear of you. You discovered his affair with Margaret years ago, and the Codex's letter, a proof of Clara's birth, threatened your status. You blackmailed him, demanding payments to keep silent. When Dr. Carver planned her crime, you guided her subtly, providing the wax to destroy the key, suggesting the cigar to implicate Langston." Lady Beatrice's hands trembled. "You have no proof." Poirot held up the vial. "This, madame, is proof. Your seal, your wax found with letters naming you. The lilac perfume, yours stronger than Clara's, betrayed your presence in the library, perhaps to meet Sir Reginald before his death. You did not wield the dagger, but you wove the web." Hargreaves stepped forward. "Lady Beatrice, you're under arrest for conspiracy and blackmail." Lady Beatrice swayed, then sank into her chair, her voice a whisper. I only wanted to protect my name. Reginald's indiscretions humiliated me. I told Evelyn about the key, suggested the cigar. I didn't know she'd kill him." Clara's eyes filled with tears. "Beatrice, you knew I was his daughter, and you let this happen?" Lady Beatrice looked away. "I'm sorry, Clara, I was weak." Langston threw up his hands. "This place is a snake pit. I'm catching the next train." Poirot raised a hand. "Monsieur, stay. The truth is complete now. Dr. Carver struck the blow, Mrs. Gray supplied the key, and Lady Beatrice pulled the strings. The locked room was a lie. The duplicate key, melted in blue wax, locked the door after the murder. The cigar stub, the glove, distractions orchestrated by a cunning mind." Hargreaves shook his head. "3 conspirators? That's a new one, Poirot." Poirot smiled faintly. "The human heart, Inspector, it conspires in many ways. Greed, pride, shame, they weave a deadly tapestry." The constables led Lady Beatrice away, her head high despite her trembling hands. Clara stood alone, clutching the letters. "Monsieur Poirot, what do I do now? The estate, the Codex, it's all mine, but at what cost?" Poirot's voice was gentle. "Mademoiselle, you are free to build anew. The Codex, it is your legacy, not your burden. Honor your father by living well." Clara nodded, wiping her tears. "I'll try. Thank you, Monsieur Poirot." Poirot returned to the library, the Codex gleaming in its case. He traced its cover, reflecting on the quill that betrayed the blood, a lineage exposed, a family healed. The shelves, once ominous, now seemed to hum with quiet pride. He stepped outside where the sun warmed the gravel drive. The manor stood tall, its wounds deep but mending. Hargreaves joined him, carrying his notebook. "You've outdone yourself, Poirot. Scotland Yard'll be talking about this for years." Poirot inclined his head. "Merci, Inspector, but the little gray cells, they seek only truth, not fame." As his car pulled up, Poirot took a final look at Ashwood Manor. The hills glowed, the fog a memory. "The emerald hides the truth," he murmured, "but not from Hercule Poirot." The car wound down the drive, carrying him toward London. The case was closed, the shadows dispelled, but Poirot's mind already turned to the next puzzle. For where there were secrets, there was Hercule Poirot, ready to unravel them. Chapter 10. The Dawn of Clarity. The dawn broke over Ashwood Manor with a brilliance that seemed to wash away the last vestiges of the fog that had haunted its halls. The Kent hills glowed in shades of amber and gold, their rolling slopes a stark contrast to the shadows that had gripped the estate. The Emerald Library, its green-tinted lamps now extinguished, stood bathed in natural light, its shelves of leather-bound tomes gleaming with quiet dignity. The oak desk, once stained with Sir Reginald Ashwood's blood, was clean, and the Emerald Codex rested securely in its display case, its illuminations a testament to truths revealed. Hercule Poirot stood in the library, his black suit immaculate, his mustache a perfect crescent of waxed precision. His jade-green eyes surveyed the room, reflecting a calm satisfaction tempered by the melancholy of human folly. The arrests of Dr. Evelyn Carver for murder, Mrs. Florence Gray for conspiracy, and Lady Beatrice Ashwood for blackmail and orchestration had brought justice. Yet the manor's wounds lingered, like scars beneath the morning light. Clara Pembroke, now the acknowledged heir, stood at a crossroads, her future uncertain but hopeful. Inspector Hargreaves joined Poirot, his walrus mustache drooping from days of relentless work. "Morning, Poirot. The prisoners are off to London. Carver's confession's solid, Gray's cooperating, and Lady Beatrice is tight-lipped but done for." The coroners finalized the report. "Dagger to the heart. Time of death between midnight and 2. You've tied it all up." Poirot inclined his head, his cane resting lightly in his hand. "Merci, Inspector. The case, it is complete, yet the heart, it feels the weight of tragedy. The little gray cells, they triumph, but they mourn." Hargreaves nodded, flipping through his notebook. "That locked room business, duplicate key, melted in wax, never would have figured it. And 3 conspirators? A proper nest of vipers." Poirot's mustache twitched. "Oui, a nest indeed." Dr. Carver struck the blow, driven by fear of ruin. Mrs. Gray, bound by family loyalty, supplied the key. Lady Beatrice, consumed by pride, wove the web. Each played their part, but the truth it could not hide from Hercule Poirot. As they spoke, Clara Pembroke entered, her face pale but composed. Her pearl necklace, restrung and gleaming, rested against a simple black dress, a nod to mourning and resilience. In her hands was the small leather-bound diary of her mother, Margaret, and the letters from the locked box, their secrets now laid bare. "Monsieur Poirot," she said softly, "I owe you everything. The codex, the estate, my name. You've given me a future." Poirot's voice was gentle. "Mademoiselle Clara, the future, it is yours to shape. The codex holds your birthright, but it is your courage that defines you. What will you do now?" Clara glanced at the display case, the codex's emerald illuminations catching the light. "I'll keep the manor, make it a place of learning, not secrets. The codex will be studied, shared with scholars, not hidden. And Beatrice, she's agreed to stay to help me." Poirot nodded approvingly. "A wise choice, mademoiselle. Madame Beatrice, though flawed, seeks redemption. Together you may heal this house." Mr. Victor Langston appeared at the door, his suitcase in hand, his American bravado softened by the ordeal. "Poirot, kid," he said, nodding to Clara. "I'm heading back to Chicago. This place too many ghosts for me. But you're all right, Clara. Keep that book safe." Clara smiled faintly. "Thank you, Mr. Langston. Safe travels." Langston tipped his hat to Poirot. "You're one hell of a detective, mister. If you're ever in Chicago, look me up." Poirot chuckled. "Merci, monsieur, but London, it is my home. The mysteries, they come to me." As Langston departed, Poirot returned to the library, drawn to the codex. He opened the case, tracing the loose page. "The quill betrays the blood." The letter sewn into the binding had named Clara as Sir Reginald's daughter and linked Dr. Carver's family to a royal scandal. Its revelation had sparked murder, but also liberation. "A book," Poirot murmured. "It can destroy or it can redeem." He re-examined the clues that had led him here, ensuring no thread remained loose. The green wax, stamped with the ashwood crest, had been Dr. Carver's attempt to destroy the duplicate key. The blue wax, Lady Beatrice's seal, had betrayed her role in orchestrating the deception. The cigar stubs stolen from Langston's case were a red herring, as was Harrow's torn glove, planted to frame Clara. The diary and letters hidden by Margaret had named Mrs. Gray and Lady Beatrice as threats, their motives rooted in family shame and pride. Poirot paused at the fireplace where the burned letter fragments, blackmail, codex, silence, had first hinted at motive. The blue wax residue, overlooked at first, had been the key to Lady Beatrice's involvement. The falling bookshelf, tied by Mrs. Gray, was a desperate act to protect her secret. Each clue, each red herring, had been a note in a symphony of deceit, and Poirot had conducted it to its crescendo. He stepped to the window, gazing at the sunlit hills. The manor's red brick glowed, its chimneys proud against the sky. The fog was gone, and with it the shadows of doubt. Yet Poirot's mind lingered on the human cost. "Greed, pride, love," he mused. "They drive us to ruin or to redemption." Clara joined him, her eyes bright with determination. "Monsieur Poirot, I've decided to open the library to the public. Scholars, historians, they'll come to study the codex, to learn from it. No more secrets." Poirot's smile was warm. "Magnifique, mademoiselle. You honor your father's memory, not his mistakes." She hesitated, then added, "And Beatrice, she's offered to fund a scholarship in father's name. She's changed, I think." Poirot nodded. "The heart, it learns, even in darkness. Madame Beatrice seeks to atone. Trust her, but with care." Hargreaves re-entered carrying a telegram. "Poirot, Scotland Yard's singing your praises. They want a report. You'll be famous." Poirot waved a hand. "Fame, it is fleeting. The truth, it endures. Send them my regards, Inspector, but Hercule Poirot, he prefers his quiet flat in London." As the morning unfolded, the manor buzzed with new purpose. Servants cleaned, preparing for Clara's vision of an open library. Lady Beatrice, though humbled, moved with quiet resolve, assisting Clara with estate papers. The wounds of Ashwood Manor were healing, stitch by stitch. Under the light of truth, Poirot collected his hat and cane, his departure imminent. He took a final walk through the library, pausing at the desk where Sir Reginald had died. The scratch from the dagger was faint now, a scar rather than a wound. The shelves, once ominous, seemed to hum with promise. "The emerald hides the truth," Poirot murmured. "But the truth, it shines." Outside, the gravel drive crunched under his patent leather shoes. Clara and Hargreaves saw him off, the car waiting to return him to London. Clara clasped his hand. "Monsieur Poirot, you've given me more than justice. You've given me hope." Poirot bowed. "Mademoiselle, hope is the greatest treasure. Guard it well." Hargreaves shook his hand. "You're a marvel, Poirot. Till the next mystery, eh?" Poirot's eyes twinkled. "The mysteries, they find me, Inspector. Adieu." The car rolled down the drive, Ashwood Manor receding into the hills. Poirot leaned back, his mind already wandering to the next puzzle. The codex, the quill, The blood. They had told their story and he had listened. The manor would thrive under Clara's care, its secrets no longer deadly but illuminating. As the Kent countryside gave way to London sprawl, Poirot closed his eyes, a faint smile on his lips. "The little gray cells," he whispered. "They never fail." The sun climbed higher, and the world felt for a moment at peace.